Well, it's a new day, and we're going to continue on with our Star Guitar build. And what I'm going to do is use my sander here and sand the curves as close as I can to my line. I don't know if you can see, but there's a periphery mark of the shape that I want, and that's the line that I'm going to follow. So please follow along, and let's get started. Now, sometimes these lines can be used as just a guide. What I'm trying to do here is, I don't know if you can see that, but I'm trying to sand close to the fingerboard as I possibly can, and then put a radius right here, and then I'll do the same on this side. I don't know if you can see that it is wider here and it's wider here. The maple's a little bit wider than the rosewood, so we're trying to bring that down. You got to be careful, really have an eye on what you're doing here. As a matter of fact, let me bring some light over, and that'll make it a little better. There's nothing like filming on the fly here. There we go, we got some more lighting that'll help us see what we're doing. So let's continue on. Pretty much have flushed this off here. It might be a slightly oversized, but what I wanted to do was, you can see where the, I'm sorry, this is slightly oversized, as I was saying, but what you want to do is kind of make this area where the nut is straight, so it looks good at the end result when you're installing the nut, which I've achieved. So what I'm going to do, I've put a radius here. Let's see, yeah, you can see that right there. And I'm going to carry on with the shaping. So I'm going to change this drum here. We're going to put something a little larger. It's relatively simple to do. Just take off the top nut. And don't drop it like I just did. We got a washer here that we're going to need. And we put on the oversized. Now I got to swing over and get this thing. Way to go, Sandoval. Let's move this. Well, this is the way it is, folks. This is what happens when you're filming live. I'm showing everything. That's the name of the game. I'm sure I'll eventually get into editing, but you know what? Let's keep it real. It's the content and the importance of what I'm doing that's really what you should be focusing on. So just bear with me. Here we go. We're going to do all the curve shaping here a little better. That's pretty much. Now, you know, a lot of times in my videos I say that when I build my guitars, they're hand built. So I'm going to move the camera. Bear with me. We're going to have a little movement here. That's okay. Snagged on a cable. That's okay. Remember, we're doing live work here. And let's see what we got going. All right, let's set this bad boy down. And we almost got it. Almost got it. Almost got it. There we go. So as I was saying, a lot of times I comment about my work and that these guitars are hand built. Well, you just saw, yeah, I used a machine, but the machine just cuts. The formation of what our work comes out like in this case would be the shape of this headstock. If I didn't use my hands, if I didn't use my sight and hearing, and because I can hear texture of cutting with my hearing and I can see what I'm doing, and we use my hands. So to me, in my eyes, that's pretty much hand done. I'm not a CNC router, so that's just how it works. So what we're going to do is some hand sanding here. The grit on that drum was about an 80 grit. You can use 80. It's pretty heavy, but you know, and it does some real adequate cutting. So anyway, let's clean my glasses here. Let's carry on, and what I'm going to do now is some more handwork using a long block. Before I continue on with there, let me just get the measurements. This drum here that I used, let's see, can we see that? Yeah, there we go. This drum here that I used is a 2-inch drum, and they're like 4.5 inches tall. The other one is a 3-inch. So I have a variety of different sizes that I can install on my drum sander there. So just to give you a little help there. So what I'm going to use now is a long block. It's flat, and I'm using 80 grit sandpaper. And I'm going to start with doing the edge here. Now there's one thing that I do that really helps out. I use a square, and I'm able to put the square on and make sure I'm keeping this at a 90. So let's see if we can swing this off the bench. Well, let's see. Come on now. We can do this. We need to just elevate it a little bit so I can get underneath and hold it right. There we go. How we unscrew. We're good there. Okay, so actually this should be flat. This has a curve on it, so that'll be a problem. This is flat. That stabilizes it a lot better. Here we go. So just using typical sanding procedures that you learned in your wood fabrications of other projects. I'm using an 80 grit. I'm using a square. It's a small mini square. I've got several of these. I've got another smaller one, and these come in really handy. I use them all the time, so I think I presented them as one of my guitar tips. So if you find them or you don't have any, you might want to get a couple if you have. So there's two things I wanted to point out here. One is that when you use a sort of semi-worn down sandpaper, you have better control as far as cutting goes. This one's a little bit worn, but it's got some really good sharp spots on it on the edge, which I can use like I'm positioning here, but if I go more to the center, it's less of a cut. But I can gradually cut to my form of the line that I see, and to keep this at a 90. This we want to have pretty straight. Now, I don't know if you can see, maybe through some shadowing, you can see, let's see where, I'm sorry. Well, let me get it close to the screen this way, or the camera. I don't know if there's bandsaw marks there. It's cut, more bandsaw marks. It's cut, sandpaper cut, and then more bandsaw marks. What I'm trying to do is smooth this out. So, obviously it's just continuous movement back and forth and pressure. And this block is flat, so, you know, it's giving me the surface that I need. And, you know, just check periodically. I can see that I'm cutting more, and I can see that I'm on a 90 still. What I'm going to do is get some good sandpaper here, a newer piece. I just form it on my block like so, and just squeeze the bottom. Then it gives me a little bit of a crease in the sandpaper, and then I end up folding it to where it looks like that. My block fits in perfect, and this is really flat, as you can see. This looks, I don't know if you can see that, but it's pretty uniquely flat. So now we've got good, I can feel the cutting now, and I can hear it. So using my sight, using my touch, hearing, in the sight I can see the residue that's being cut. So I know I'm doing some progress here, and I can see by my bandsaw crosscuts are just about ready to come out, so we'll just keep doing this some more. How are we looking on screen? If I don't want to cover this up here. I'm constantly looking at my filming screen to see what the heck I'm showing you guys. And if I cover it up, I apologize. Sometimes my hand or my arm might get in the way. Oh well, that's just the way it is. I'll try and catch it. There, you can see pretty good right there. I've got, on this area here, I have a little more cutting to do. You know, the faster you move the block, it's going to cut faster, especially with this good sandpaper. Now, everything looks cut now. It all looks pretty flat, and I'm at a good 90, so we're looking good here. Now, right here, it's got a sharpness to it. Let me show you. You can see that sharpness that's right there. And we're going to get rid of that. So, just using your block, I'm just coming along and just cutting it with a sandpaper. Sometimes single strokes like that work really good. And I look at both sides, both top and bottom, and for the most part I want to go by the top because that's what you want to see. Keeping it as much of a 90 as possible. But you'll see that when it gets to a nice curve or radius that you like, just stop sanding, you're good. Okay, let's move on here. Let's take care of this flat part in the front. I like to keep my shapes as square or rounded or curved as possible. Like this should be pretty flat. It's at a good 90, so I'm trying not to keep too much movement on the block so it stays flat. And then I'm going to come around like this and get the top. Hand fabrication. This is what it is. You can set up a routing system if you were doing these in multiples. And this can all be cut really nice first time around. But hand fabrication, handwork, that's what this is all about. Now I've got a buildup right here. You can see it, and I didn't want to take that down first because it's showing I've got a line here of the periphery, and we'll save that for last. So what I'm going to do now is I feel this. It's got a little bit of wavering feeling to it, so we'll get to that. Got so much movement here. There we go. It's always good to stabilize your material because then you know that your cuts are going to be okay. This is just a matter of vision and looking and seeing what you're doing, following the pattern, the shape that we want. You just keep working at it until you achieve your desired shape. That's your goal. And I think that's good enough for rock and roll. Now we've got some curves. We can do this either by hand or what I'm going to use is there's a radius on this block. So that'll help me in getting the curve that I want. You know, it might be a little tight right here, but that's okay. I can stop and I work at this point here like that, or I work at this point here like that using the end of the block, and we'll achieve our radius that we want. We're almost there, folks. I'm gonna have to get a new piece of sandpaper. That's okay. We're going to put this on. Typically it goes on this way, but we're going to reverse it because we want the sandpaper. We want the sandpaper on the radius side. This is live, ladies and gentlemen. Luthier builders of the future. This is where it's at. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is minimize or completely get rid of any wavering or inconsistency, if you may want to call it that. And stabilizing as much of the work as possible. There we go. Got a little bit right here. There we go. And let's do a little right here. Coming up here like that. You know, you just try to get everything as square as possible, as smooth as possible. Now, if I check my 90 on this, very nice, very good. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see if we can get this on camera. Looks pretty good, pretty squared up there. All right, well, there's our periphery now. It's done. See if we can get this on camera. We got a nice radius here and here, straight radius, straight radius, radius all along here, and everything meets nice and square. Holes are drilled. Everything's aligned. Our truss mount adjustment is in the back. And we've got a little bit of a deep cut here, which will probably end up filling that in. And I'm kind of glad that I did that because I'm going to show you how I do that. You may run across, if you're painting a solid colored guitar and you have wood discrepancies where there's a pit, a chip, or something that needs to be filled, we're gonna address that. So I'm gonna knock off this. I'm gonna knock off this little extension there. Very easy to do, and we're pretty much. You're gonna see this completely leveled, sanded, and looking good. So I like to use a flat block like this because see that it'll hang on to the flatness of what we got over here, and therefore cut down here and eventually minimize it completely. Or I should say eliminate it. So a lot of my pressure is focused on this part that we want to cut down and not so much here. This is just more or less a guide, flat to flat. You know, basic woodworking. I can feel it cutting really good, and because I have a good piece of new 80 grit sandpaper. A lot of times when you cross cut on woods, it cuts faster than if you were to sand with the grain. But there are times when you need to sand with the grain, so you don't have visible sanding scratches, you know, showing through your paint. But in this case, we're going to do a cross cut here, sort of. The grain's going this way, but I'm cutting a little bit like that. That's okay. And eventually we'll end up straightening it out and then going straight like this. But I just wanted to get this thing cut down. All right, let's do the whole face of the headstock. And this is where you can sand out. You can sand out any scratches, or you can see how it's taking shape and it's looking really good from my point. I'll show you in a moment here. Let's just This is going to be painted a solid color, so if there are any marks here from my dimension markings, then, you know, they'll be covered up. But I just wanted to show you the end result. There it is. There's the shape of the neck, and it's looking pretty good. Let's see if I can get it head on here. It's nice and clean. We got good radiuses here. And I've acquired a talent of really achieving the desired curves and straightness just by my touch and strength that I use in sanding and the control that I have with the block, along with visually looking at it and then hearing the cut, which may sound kind of weird, but no, that does help. But it looks pretty clean. Looks really good, and for a Star guitar. And then of course the back looks like this. We got some fill that we'll have to do here, and you know, it's kind of like, this is a rough sanding, but when you get down, like I'll sand this with 220 at the final sand of the whole guitar. Oh, I can see a little bit here. And, you know, by the time, all the different steps that you do, by the time you get to the end, it's looking really good. As you very well know, you've seen my guitars, their end result. Here you can see the back and what the back looks like. I mean, it looks just as good. It's just not nicely sanded like this one is. This is very clean hard rock maple. 1, 2, 3 laminate, 4 for the little tip. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 1-inch, and that's just an additional piece that we put on. And they're pretty much quarter sawn. I don't know if you can see that on the end of the neck, but the grain is like vertical, which is good. This is going to be a really strong neck. It's very straight. Let's see if we can get a look. It's pretty straight. Just to give you, I'm moving it so you can get the straightness of it. I don't know. I have trouble seeing the screen sometimes. But anyway, there you go. We've got the headstock sanded, and I thought I would share that with you as our ongoing build. We're just about ready to get this neck glued onto the body, and I may not be showing a lot of the procedures on that because I've got a plan, so bear with me. Okay, so if you haven't subscribed to my video, please do so. YouTube, I'm on YouTube, and I'm on Patreon. Patreon financially supports what I do, all my efforts. After all, it takes time to cut these videos and get them prepared for you guys, doing some minor editing, I guess you can call it. But if you can support me in that by subscribing to both my YouTube channel and my Patreon channel, I'd appreciate it. Check me out on Instagram. I'm trying to build up all my numbers, and it seems to be working. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. Thank you so much. You can catch me on Facebook. I've got a website which shows some of my work. I do plan to upgrade it, but there's so much to do and so much that only one guy can do. Like today, I'll be doing fretwork on some other V's that we're about ready to get going into paint. So anyway, I appreciate your viewing my videos. I hope you all had a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you so much. We got Christmas holidays coming up. And once again, I appreciate you viewing my videos. Thank you so much, and have a great day.